So the first speaker of this afternoon's first session is Omur Arslan. He will talk about sensor-based reactive navigation in unknown convex sphere worlds. Omur, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Frank. So hi everyone, I am Omur Arslan from University of Pennsylvania, and today I will present a very simple but effective solution for sensor-based navigation, reactive navigation in unknown forest-like environments. And this work was motivated by recent interest in agile navigation in dense human crowds and in natural forests, where robots generally need to make fast navigation decisions and maybe just using the local sensory information. And we model this problem as navigation in convex sphere worlds. Here, a convex sphere world is a convex environment populated with convex obstacles. And to guarantee the global navigation, we need to make one assumption that there will be enough gap between the pairs of obstacles such that a robot can circumnavigate an obstacle freely. And based on this assumption, we look for a first-order velocity-controlled robot, Lipschitz continuous vector field planner, such that it will guarantee the global collision-free navigation. And we want this construction to be efficiently applicable to any arbitrary space dimension. When we look at the literature, the existing works are generally using this simple idea of potential function, which use the composition of attractive and repulsive fields, but generally suffers from the local minima problem. And to address this problem, navigation functions are introduced as a parametric composition of attractive and repulsive fields. And to guarantee global navigation, one needs to properly tune this parameter, generally using the global knowledge of the environment. And as an alternative solution, a very simple solution, I believe that you can teach in your class in less than an hour, 30 minutes. Our construction does not require any parameter tuning, and its construction just requires the local knowledge of the environment. So in our construction, we will use some basic tools from convex analysis to identify some safe neighborhood around the robot body. And in convex analysis, it is well known that two disjoint convex sets can be separated by a hyperplane. We will choose the one particular one, maximum margin separating hyperplanes, because it balances the clearance between these convex obstacles, but one can choose any arbitrary separating hyperplane. And based on this maximum margin separating hyperplanes between the robot body and obstacles, we can obtain a local workspace, this yellow region around the robot. And from this local workspace, we will obtain the local free space by eroding this yellow region by the robot body size. And actually, it looks very familiar. This is a generalized Voronoi diagram of the environment using convex generators. But the difference compared to the existing methods in the literature is we are not trying to model the connectivity of the environment, but we want to capture the local structure around the robot. And it turns out to be this construction is a precise way of encoding collisions. One can easily convince, easily convince yourself that a robot configuration is free of collision if the robot body is included in the robot's local workspace. And from this, it's very straightforward to conclude that local free space, this green polygon, will be a collision-free neighborhood of the convex collision-free neighborhood of the robot. And inspired by the idea of chasing a carrot on a stick, instead of directly giving our robot the global goal, we want to specify a continuously varying goal such that we hope to solve the global navigation problem. Here, we will use the local free space as our stick and place the carrot on the closest point of local free space to goal, and we will tell the robot to continue to follow this local projected goal. And this, before continuing with the stability properties, let's pay some attention on the stationary points of this vector field. It's clear that we have a stationary point at the destination, but there are some stationary points associated with the obstacles, and one can easily locate those stationary points because the robot needs to be at the boundary of the free space. And when you think about at the critical point, the robot centroid, it is projection on the obstacle, and the goal point should be all collinear. So to guarantee global navigation, one needs to make sure that these stationary points are non-degenerate saddles, and to do this, we need an obstacle curvature condition. Basically, it says that let's consider the ball centered at the goal location with radius equals to robot's current distance to goal, and this obstacle curvature condition says that at a critical point, the associated augmented obstacle should be contained in the enclosing ball of the goal. And if you have very flat convex obstacle, it may not be possible. So this is the reason that we need to have some curvature condition on the obstacles to guarantee that there will be the global navigation will be possible. So this curvature condition guarantees that these stationary points will be non-degenerate saddle. So we will have a dense unique attractor at the goal location, and this construction directly guarantees collision-free navigation. It doesn't require any parameter tuning, and it only requires the local knowledge of the environment. And what I mean with the local knowledge of the environment is robot only need to locate those obstacles whose Voronoi cells are adjacent to robot's local workspace, and this is generally referred to as the Voronoi adjacent sensing. And we show in our paper that this construction can be easily extended to a more practical sensory model. For example, for a fixed radius sensory footprint, since the intersection of the convex sets are convex sets, the construction can be directly applied, but we only need to take an intersection of the local workspace with a proper circle to make sure that the construction will still have this piecewise smoothness and Lipschitz continuity. And for a laser scanner, you can just use the range data to identify those convex segments and apply the same idea. Actually, it says that this construction only needs the local minimum of the range data to construct the local workspace. I believe that this was a very important observation. And in summary, I believe that I need to emphasize that this construction is doubly reactive in the sense that we don't know the navigation path until reaching the destination. Also, the generating vector field is constructed on the fly very fast. And I want to continue with the dirty laundry. So why we need those assumptions? First of all, this isolated obstacle assumption was required to make sure that the configuration space obstacles are going to be convex, because if you have non-convex obstacles, it's usually easy to find some counterexample that violates the global navigation property. But convexity is not enough. We need obstacle curvatures, some conditions on the obstacle curvatures, so that the global navigation will be possible. And we ask that question, yes, these are the sufficient conditions. Are they really the necessary conditions? And it seems to be for a memoryless greedy robotic agent, one needs to have these conditions applied at every target location, which makes that for a planar environment, environments with disk-shaped obstacles are only the navigable environments. And when we go to higher dimensions, for example, we require at every boundary point of the obstacle that we will have at least a one two-dimensional circular cross-section. And it means that in 3D, for example, a navigable obstacle is, in addition to the sphere, it's going to be torus. And I want to also talk about a little bit regarding the computational complexity of this metric projection on the convex polytopes. This problem, by definition, is a convex quadratic programming, especially it is equivalent to linearly constrained linear list squares, which means that you can solve this problem very efficiently using some polynomial time solvers. And in 2D, you can construct the analytical solution because the metric projection will be either inside the polygon or it will be on the boundary. And we suggest to use the active set method, which is an old convex solver. But it is nice because you can start, it requires a feasible solution, which is the robot's current solution. And at every iteration, it guarantees the feasibility of the solution and decrease the objective function, which means that you don't need to wait until finding the projected goal. Stop the algorithm at any time and use that as your projected local goal. And here is a glimpse of the ongoing work. We verify that this algorithm can be implemented using one of our robots, miniature, and it was very fascinating to see that on the first trial we get the successful result because it is a vector field construction, so it is robust to modeling uncertainties. The other idea is we can even extend these ideas. Instead of robot-centric applications of the Voronoi diagrams, we can have path-centric applications so that it will be a vector field smoothing of a given navigation path. I believe that it will be also an interesting topic to discover. And finally, this simple algorithm may be just limited to maybe convex sphere words, but if you combine with sampling-based algorithm, you can solve one of the problems. For example, planning around the narrow passages, because we observe that this sensory steering just handles the narrow passages. There is no difference in topology between the narrow or the large, passage. So I will stop here, and I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is the difference between this or the advantage of this compared to potential field methods in 2D or like the geometric methods like diagrams
So, potential fields basically suffer from the local minima problem because there is an application of randomized potential fields for sampling-based planning algorithm, for example, and unfortunately still the local minima problem is a local minima problem and it persists.
If you have convex obstacles and also this curvature condition, I don't know if you always have local minima.
So actually here, if you notice, we don't require the convexity of the environment anymore because it takes advantage of the sampling-based algorithm. I propose this method as a fundamental primitive tool, a greedy tool. It's better than the straight line planning, but it should be combined with some other tools. I don't say that it will solve your everyday problem, but it's a nice plus operation. If you combine those pluses, maybe you will able to solve your integral problem. So this is my strategy to use that method.
Mani?
Great work. I have one question and one comment. The question is, if the field of view is not 360, like the one you said in paper, what's the limitation of the algorithm? And if the field of view of the sensor, perception field, is not 360 degrees,
Oh, I see.
then we have to plan for the orientation as well.
I see. And actually, in the extended version, we gave an extension for the differential derived robot, and it's very relevant with this setting. You will have, so the only problem will be the metric projection onto convex sets are unique, but if you have limited field of view, you will lose that uniqueness property, but there is always a way to, go around this problem and make sure that you will find a convex set in your sensing range. So I believe that it will solve the problem without any issue.
And my comment is, would it be possible to feed a minimum volume ellipsoid to find a set of LiDAR measurements to relax the convex obstacle assumption in practice?
I haven't thought about this, but there are ellipsoidal are also convex shapes, so it can be possible to do such things. I see, but generally any kind of sensing model will work, but the main idea is finding a convex region from your sensing data. Because we want to take the advantage of some tools from the convex analysis, otherwise the search will be computational hard. So this was against our philosophy of, the philosophy of this paper, but most likely you can have arbitrary footprints for the local workspace and the local free space, and you can look for the best possible, location where to put the local goal with respect to the global goal. So there are lots of freedom. So I haven't tried all of them, but there is a room to explore more, I think, in this setting.
While the next speaker sets up, there's a last question over here.
Sure.
Hi, yeah. So, quick question. Is there a concise sort of intuitive description of what that convex curvature condition entails? And can you describe or comment on sort of how restrictive an assumption in practice that might be?
Actually, it is very, I believe that it is a necessary and sufficient condition because I can show you some couple of videos to give more intuition regarding the physics. For example, balancing on a ball, it's an unstable thing, right? And the reason is the ball. So the geometry is the spherical. And here we see that navigating through spherical obstacles are very easy. But when you think about a rocking chair, it is stable because it has a larger curvature. And we see a similar reason in this construction. Because of the curvature of the obstacles, we have a kind of artificial, attractive fields. This metric projection behaves like an attractive field. But because of this curvature condition, sometimes instead of making the right, taking a longer path, you may converge a local minima. But they are physically related with the stability of the rocking chair or rocking horse. We can discuss more. I can explain.
Thank you. Let's thank the speaker once again.